If you watch our present so-called president, he spends most of his time either in his child or his parent ego state. He never gets into his adult ego state unless he's reading off the teleprompter. And he is such a poor reader that oftentimes he makes mistakes and then he is instantly in his child ego state right in front of your very eyes. It's absolutely fascinating to watch it happen.
Speaking of our president, a lot of people say that racism has risen under him.
Anybody who doesn't say that hasn't been paying attention. It absolutely has. The kinds of things that are being said in this country today are things that he has said for the last 2 years. He has said them publicly, and he got elected because he said them publicly. We have a group of people in the United States of America who were in response to 8 years of a black man in the White House and the possibility that they might have from 4 to 8 years of a woman in the White House will elect anything that walks and can chew gum at the same time. Last election, as far as I'm concerned, was a direct response to having a black man in the White House for 8 years. And it's time to change the White House to the President's house. This is ridiculous. To call the place where the President of the United States lives the White House, it sends the wrong message. I remember when Richard Nixon said to a group of reporters, "I'm trying to save the White House for you white people." That says it all. And at that moment I thought, well, wait a minute. Now this is something that has to be changed, and it has to be changed. Nothing can stop an idea whose time has come. It's time to change the name of the White House to the President's house or the President's residence, which has a nice ring to it, don't you think?
Let's just say that President Trump is trying to bring the country together like he said he would do. Wait a second. He's trying to bring the country together. How would he go about doing that?
Resign. If he really wants to bring the country together, all he has to do is resign and take his, with him, the second in command, the vice president. That would bring the country together. But right now, the only way he can bring the country together is put somebody else in the president's office. He does not know how to be a president. He does not know what legislation is about. He does not know how to do this job. He didn't intend to get this job. And had it not been for the Electoral College, he wouldn't have this job. Mrs. Clinton won the popular vote. The only reason we have this person as a president of the United States right now is because the members of the Electoral College didn't do what that Electoral College was designed to do. Thomas Jefferson designed that to make sure that no one who was unfit for that office would ever be elected president of the United States. The Electoral College last year absolutely defeated that.
You criticized President Trump.
Did I?
One thing that a lot of people have criticized former President Obama on was not speaking out on race enough. Do you think he failed in that?
What if he had spoken out enough on race? Imagine what would have happened to him. The man is still alive. Do you remember Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.? Do you remember Malcolm X? Do you remember all those people have been killed not because of the color of their skin, but because of the fear of white people, that someone who isn't white is going to look better, sound better, act better, do better than they do. Mr. Obama was the president of all of us. He wasn't just the president of black people. He was the president of all of us. The man who's there now is and claims to be the president of the people who look like him. When he says, "Make America great again," what he's really saying is, "Make America hate again." And until people in this country and people in this world get it into their heads that the first modern human beings that evolved on this earth were black women, they evolved in sub-Saharan Africa about 280,000 years ago, and every human being on the face of the earth today has the memory of those black women's genetic structure in their genes. Now, we don't want to admit that, but that's the way it is. As people moved farther and farther from the equator, their bodies produced less and less melanin, so their hair, their skin, and their eyes got lighter. As they moved into the east, they ate a lot of fish and a lot of vegetables, so their skin took on a different tone. You don't really want to get me started on this because
I do want to get you started.
I'm really angry about how we are miseducating the American mind.
And I'm real sick of hearing people say to make America great again, because that word again means go back to the 50s, which was real good for white men, but wasn't worth a damn for people of color and women. You need to know that, and that's what this fool wants us to do.
This woman, Jane Elliott, is one of the white women I respect so much. I hold in so much high esteem and regard, because this white woman, in fact, all her days, right, you guys will literally see her spitting facts as it is. You can literally hear what she literally gave to Donald Trump and his administration. And honestly, nobody can tell me that what this woman said absolutely is not correct. If it is not what is happening now, that is literally what is happening now. You know, the problem with some of these white folks that literally want to glorify the orange man is the fact that they will ignore every single advice that is coming for them. And that is why even now that they're actually looking for help, help is literally not coming their way. Do you get? But anyways, welcome back to the channel. My name is Sonia. Subscribe, like, comment, and share. Credit to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. And I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you liking, commenting, sharing, dropping super thanks, also joining my membership. I do not take you guys for granted. You guys are absolutely the best. With that being said, let's dive right into this video properly. I'll be back with commentaries. Let's go watch, guys.
America decided to listen to a racist, crafty crook, no business being in the presidency of the United States of America. We know that, but you see, right now we're in a situation where people who are pale, stale, and male are scared to death. And it's been, I read the book White Fear a long time ago when it first came out. And I've watched this thing happen over the last 30 years, particularly the last 20 years. I've watched white males become increasingly frightened of the fact that they are going to lose their numerical majority in the United States of America. And the damn fools don't even realize that they have always been in the numerical minority worldwide. Only 15 to 18% of the human population of the earth is classified as white. And let's make no mistake about this. White is a misnomer. There are no white people. I am not the color of this collar on my shirt, and you are not the color of the OTE on your shirt. We aren't white and we aren't black. We are all shades of brown. And it's time for us to realize that, and it's time for us to enjoy that fact, and it's time for us to stop talking about race. There's only one race of people on the face of the earth, and that's the human race. And oh my God, how long is it going to take us to have social studies teachers tell our students at the junior high and high school level that the word race, meaning a specific group of people, came out of France in 1580? How long is it going to take us to realize that the idea of whiteness and blackness, quit laughing, this ain't funny, don't do something else.
So Jane, you make that point there, and they talked about how these young white men have been, quote, radicalized. You now have these podcasts and others, and they're talking about toxic masculinity, and you've got people like Senator Josh Hawley and Tucker Carlson, and even Congressman Byron Donalds. We've got the return to masculine men. We have feminized men. And Trump plays into that. He's strong and tough. And so when you see these demos, when you see 1834 and these young men saying, yeah, Trump is our guy, what you're laying out is right. They're scared to death. It's like, well, where's the place for men in our society? Your ass has been running every damn thing for the longest.
But the problem is, these aren't men. These are boys. And they are absolutely encouraged to remain boys instead of to grow into men. Becoming a man takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of effort, and it takes some study, and it takes some education. Any damn fool can be a boy. We've got a lot of them running around. And right now, the ones who voted for Donald Trump this last week was a whole bunch of boys, grown tall, who don't know what's good for them and certainly don't know what's good for the world. We're going to have to depend on women because men don't want to stop being boys. Women have no choice. Comes a time in every female's life when she has to grow up and be a woman. Men don't have to do that. They can be boys for as long as they live. And if you don't believe that, look at Donosaurus T. Rump. He will be a boy for as long as he draws breath because he is encouraged not to think, but just to react, and not to respond intelligently, but to respond with anger and petulance. And we don't need an angry, petulant boy in the White House ever again. But that's what we have, and we're going to have that for the next 4 years.
What do you make of white women? There was a belief that because of the Dobbs decision, that white women were finally going to stop rewarding Donald Trump. They voted for him in 2016. They voted for him in 2020. According to the polls, Vice President Kamala Harris was doing way better with white voters. According to the polls, she was getting a higher share of white voters than even Joe Biden did. And then come Tuesday, nope, none of that happened.
White women are just as ignorant about race and sex as white men are. And we will stay that way as long as we have an education system that describes all the important things that have ever been done in this world as having been done by white males and a few white females. As long as we don't tell the truth in history, as long as we don't tell the truth in social studies, as long as we teach the lie, as long as we refuse to deal with the truth, that's how long we'll have this problem. And white women don't seem to realize that Donald Trump is going to use them. They need to realize that when he said we've got to put a wall on the southern border of the United States because we've got to keep those brown-skinned people out because brown-skinned people reproduce too rapidly, he was absolutely serious. This man is a blatant racist, and he is prepared. The reason he closed Planned Parenthood clinics for a while, and now they're trying to get them open, is because he was quite certain that Planned Parenthood clinics, the main thing they did was offer abortions to white women. That's not what Planned Parenthood clinics are about. They're about a whole lot of things, providing a whole lot of services for women who can't afford to go to the local doctor, but they can go to the Planned Parenthood clinic. He did a real ugly thing when he closed these clinics, and he closed them so that he could keep white women from getting abortions. I've got news for him. If a white woman wants an abortion, she's going to get an abortion. And there's no way he or anybody else on the face of the earth is going to be able to stop her if she can find somebody who's willing to help her do it. And I'm willing to help her do it. Until we make white males, period, males of all colors, and there's only two, and that's brown, and only one in that shade of brown. But until we start making males as responsible for pregnancy as women are, that's how long we're going to have the problem of abortion. If we could just pass legislation that said that every man who contributed to an unwanted pregnancy would have to submit to involuntary vasectomy, I'll bet we could do away with abortion in a hurry, don't you think so?
Absolutely. Now, on that particular point there, when you talk about Trump and these Republicans, listen, Elon Musk, apartheid Elon Musk.
Wait, let me stop you there. We've got to stop calling the Republican Party the Republican Party. Donald Trump knocked the L, the letter L, out of the word Republican and turned it into Republican because of his obsession with the pubic area. It's time to call it what it is. And he also messed up the word, this United States Supreme Court. It is now the United States Sperm Court, because all he and his recent appointees to that court are interested in is sperm cells and what color children they will be produced by their use. It's time to change the language to fit the situation. These are Republicans, and it's the Sperm Court. Okay, what were you saying?
First of all, no, go to the shot of Greg, Henry Spencer. Greg Carr was sitting there, and Naomi Carter was sitting there. Their mouth was wide open, cracking up when you said that. I would go to them in a second. But here's the thing right there that you're talking about.
Are their ears, are their ears open?
Oh, yeah.
We gotta open our ears. We got to open our ears and then open our mouths to say something that makes sense. And Republican Party makes sense. Republican doesn't. Donald Trump isn't interested in the public arena. He is interested in the pubic area. Let's call it what it is.
You talked about, again, Trump and Planned Parenthood, and you got apartheid Elon Musk. And he is always tweeting about, the population drop, the lack of birthing babies. These folks, what they want is simple. They want white women to shut up, stop going to college, stop taking jobs, lay down, have babies, and just reproduce. Because this is all about fear of losing the white majority.
They're going to lose. They might as well give it up because they're going to lose. Number one, let's stop calling Elon Musk Elon Musk. I've taught dyslexic students for years, male dyslexic students. If you move the letters in his name around, you come up with lone scum. And that's what he is. He's lone scum. He is scum. We need to realize that, and we need to stop admiring him because he is able to make so much money off the efforts of other human beings. It's time to give that up. We also need to know that women have the right to decide what to do with their bodies. No man had better tell me or any other intelligent woman what to do with their body. Until you can produce a child by birth, as I can, don't tell me what to do with my body. But women have the right to say, no, absolutely not. This will not happen.
Let's talk about Latinos, Latino men as well. I just had a segment of a reporter earlier who said point blank, you got Latinos in this country. They see themselves as white adjacent. They will vote accordingly. They don't see themselves as brown. They will support somebody who wants to deport literally their family members.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Because they have been brainwashed to the idea of the rightness of whiteness. There are no white people. We are all shades of brown. We have to realize that those Latinos are just as brown as all the rest of us, and they came from the same place that you and I did. We all came from a country on the continent of Africa. We all started out brown, and it's time for us to realize that all human beings are shades of brown. And I cannot understand why, I do too, I understand why Latinos are considered calling themselves white, because that's a way to get over in this country. If you can prove that you have white ancestry, you're going to be all right. But what they don't realize is, in the very, very near future, being able to prove that you have African ancestry is going to make you all right, because we are all originally from a country on the continent of Africa. We've got to get over the idea of the rightness of whiteness. It came up during the Spanish Inquisition and should have been destroyed immediately. We've only had to deal with this for less than 500 years. It's time to give it up.
We're going to take a quick break and come back. You know what? I'm not going to go to a break. Let me just go ahead right now. Forget the break. I'm going to go right to questions. Let me first start with Greg. I'm going to start with you because the look on your face when James said Republicans was too hilarious. So I'm going to start with you. Go right ahead.
Yeah, I'd love to Sister Elliott, I'd love to ask you about Francis Cress Welsing, but I think I'll hold off on that. I want to follow up with how you just your most recent comment there, when you talked about at some point having African ancestry will be a benefit. We certainly did see that in Moorish Spain, as you say. You see, a touch of the Moor did distinguish you. How would that reversal happen in the racial binary that we have today, particularly since whiteness is a global phenomenon, and in places like, Southern Europe and other places where it's clearly mixing that is going on there for 1,000 years, it hasn't translated into any benefit for Black people. How do you see that reversal happening?
Because we have been brainwashed by our education system to the idea of the rightness of whiteness. There are no white people. We've got to get over the idea that people came from, and just this week I got a letter from somebody who said, after all, white people were here first. They came from Europe and they were here first. And I thought, oh my God, what are we going to do about this? People, all you have to do is trace your ancestry back as far as you can, and you'll find that every one of you have ancestors who came from a country on the continent of Africa. If they didn't, they came from another planet. Every human being on the face of the earth came from a country in Africa originally. You go to church on Sunday, or you go to whatever you worship on Sunday, if you're a Christian, you go and you look at a picture up behind the minister, or whatever it is you call your religious leader, and you'll see a man who looked nothing like what Jesus Christ looked like. According to the Bible, he had kinky, woolly hair and feet of bronze. If it was good enough for Jesus, I would think it would be good enough for me and good enough for people like me. It's time for us to admit that our heritage over thousands of years is brown. It's not black, it's brown. We are all shades of brown, and it's time to get used to that and to enjoy it. And make no mistake about this. The number of white babies that are being born is getting less and less because white women are tired of being used. White women are tired of being treated like second-class citizens because they can be used by somebody like Dinosaurus T. Rump. It's time to get over the idea that only women are responsible for pregnancy. It takes two people to make a pregnancy. Now, eventually, I think at the beginning it didn't. I think at the beginning you had two women. You could put two female egg cells together in a petri dish, mammal cells, break down the cell wall, and combine those cells and come up with another female mammal. That's probably the way human beings began. But all our history and the Bible, except for one book, is written by males. So history says males did all the important things that were done, fought all the important thoughts, and fought all the important fights. It's not true. It couldn't have happened if it hadn't been for the women who were there to make more equals. It's time to get over this idea. What we're doing is blatantly sexist, blatantly racist, and blatantly ignorant. We are living in an ignorant society, and it's going to get more so because of banning books and banning speakers and banning ideas. And right now we're in a situation where people are banning any idea that would even question the superiority of whiteness.
Jane, you told me
as whiteness.
Jane, you told me this book about you from Todd Mealy is on ban list.
I'm on ban list, and I think that is. I'm not sure that is. I know I am. I am banned on all college and university campuses.
Wow.
Have been for over. Oh yeah, I am a dangerous person, and I realize that. And I am absolutely delighted to be called somebody who is dangerous for college students to listen to. I'm tickled to death because that means that what I have to say is threatening to people who voted for Dinosaurus T. Rump.
Well, that's also why I love having my own platform, because they can keep you off college campuses, but they can't keep you off this show because I own it. And that's why we got to have unfiltered programming for folks like you. Niambi.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much for being with us. I want to go back to something you mentioned a moment ago about white birth rates dropping. I know that has been a fixation on the right wing, yet we still see white women voting for white supremacy. So what do you think is happening there?
It isn't just women of color who are stupid. White women get reinforced for being stupid. And we've been doing that for a good many years. We do that by calling the Virgin Mary blonde-haired, blue-eyed, and fair-skinned. We set ourselves up to fail, and then when we fail, we blame it on somebody else. It's time for us to realize that there is no such thing as a white woman. There is no such thing as a black woman. But we use those words because for white women use it because, according to the person who started this whole thing of race, Torquemada, during the Spanish Inquisition, he was going to kill everybody who wasn't Christian, and he was going to turn all the Christians into Catholics. He had killed 2,000 people before somebody made him aware of the fact that many of the people he had killed were Christians. At that time, he realized that you couldn't tell what a person's religion was by looking at them. So he decided he'd have to come up with a way to make that determination. So he called the lighter, and all people were shades of brown at that time, and they are now. He called the lighter brown-skinned people white because white is the color of purity and goodness. He called the darker-skinned people black because black is the color of savagery and evil. And we have been living with that nonsense for less than 500 years. It's time to give it up. There are no white women. And there are no black women. We are all shades of brown. And you and I, whether you want to know it or whether you want to admit it or not, are 30th to 50th cousins because our ancestors came from the same place and came from the same race. There's only one race on the face of the earth. It's the human race, and we're all members of it. It's time to get over the idea of the Rainbow Coalition. and the idea of blackness and whiteness. They have never existed, but we have been using it to keep people in their place for about 500 years. It's time to stop it.
Lauren.
Do I make sense to you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Jane, Jane,
Go ahead.
Jane, great talking to you. What do you think of the idea? I mean, African Americans, we spend a lot of time pushing back, arguing with other people, arguing with the majority, arguing that our history is important. Your book is banned on college campuses, which is ridiculous. What do you think of the idea of effectively separatism, of doing your own thing? Because wasting so much time in life arguing with people that have never respected you for 400 years, it gets a little draining. What do you think of just the idea of people building their own, their own centers of learning, et cetera, and just doing that and focusing on that?
Hey, white people have been doing that for years. Do not copy the behavior of white people. Do not move back away from society in order not to have to be around this nonsense. Get out there and educate these schools so that their children are smarter than their parents. We cannot just say these people don't know any better, we'll just stay away from them, because within 25 years, this is going to be less than 25 years, white people will become a numerical minority in the United States of America. You're going to have to deal with them in a totally different way. And we are going to have to deal, say we because I'm considered white. We white folks are going to have to deal with other people in a totally different way. We're going to have to start realizing that the boy grown tall, who is now going to be president of the United States in a couple of months, doesn't even know what it says in the preamble to the Constitution of the United States of America. Think about that. Remember when you learned the preamble of the Constitution, we the citizens of the United States in order to form a more perfect union. Do you think Donald Trump wants to form a more perfect union, or does he want a disunion? I just think it's an absolutely wonderful thing that we should have learned, and we should have listened while he was talking. We aren't doing it. We haven't listened, and I think most of us don't remember it. You remember that form a more perfect union, establish justice. Do you really think that Donald Trump believes in establishing justice? He ran for the presidency deliberately and with determination so that he wouldn't have to go to jail as a result of all the ugly things that he's been doing over the last few years. He doesn't believe in establishing justice, not for himself and not for anyone else. It says we're going to secure domestic tranquility. Oh yeah, right. Provide domestic tranquility by inciting a riot. An absolutely ridiculous mess in January. Remember that mess? That's domestic tranquility as far as Donald Trump is concerned. We're going to provide the general welfare by doing away with Social Security and welfare for children whose parents can't make enough money for them to live on. We're going to do all the things that are in the preamble of the Constitution. I don't think so. We're going to ensure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. No, we aren't. We're going to ensure the blessings of liberty to white males. And the rest of us are going to have to pretend that we like what's happening. Finally, a whole lot, but not enough, white women have decided we are not going to do this anymore. We aren't going to play this.
The only person that absolutely will reject or hate this woman is every single person that do not like to hear truth. Let me give you guys a quick history about her, just short, okay, because I know that you guys need to continue with this particular video. This woman was born November 30th, 1933, which makes her 92 years old. And recently, sources continue to identify her as living, and she is featured in 2026 documentary Jane Elliott Against the World. Let's continue because honestly, it is getting juicy.
This game anymore. This game has been killing women for long enough. It's time for us to refuse to put up with it anymore. And it's doubly time for women who consider themselves black but are brown. They're browner than I am, and I'll never be as brown as you are. But I have the right to see you as brown and to see me as brown and to see all of us as having come from the same continent, a country on the same continent, and be blessed to have cousins that look like you and that look like this gentleman who's sitting here.
This has been him coming back. Republicans taking control of the Senate. They're leading in a number of House races. They'll be in control of picking federal judges. Those are lifetime appointments. You've got the pot right now. It's 6-3 on the Supreme Court. 6-3 majority on the Supreme Court. You've got talking about potentially Alito Thomas retiring. What do you say to people who are despondent, who say, my God, they're going to be running everything? What do you say to those folks who are thinking about just giving up?
Look, I remember when Donald Trump gave his inauguration address 8 years ago, and I thought at the time, my God, this is Hitlerian. And I thought, Jay, you're exaggerating. This isn't Hitlerian. And then I got the book, When at Times the Mob is Swayed. And you need to hear just this paragraph. It says, we know from Ivana Trump's now sealed testimony at Trump's first divorce trial, backed up by her lawyer, Michael Kennedy, and from the president himself, that for years a younger Donald Trump slept with a book of Adolf Hitler's collected political speeches, published in 1941 as My New Order in a locked cabinet at his bedside table. Ugly and appalling as they are, those speeches are masterpieces of demagogic manipulation. People, what we're dealing with is what I remember from the time I was born. I was born in 1933. And from 1933 until 1945, I listened to my father ranting about what Adolf Hitler was doing in Europe and in Germany, and had planned to do with the United States. And here I am, at the age of 90, listening to this same demagogic bullshit out of the man who was going to be president of the United States in a couple of months. We have to realize that we defeated Hitler, and we will defeat this man. It won't take 4 years. He'll be in office for 4 years. But think of it this way. He's an old person. I'm older than he is, but he's an old man. And he's not going to live a whole lot longer. We're going to have to outlive him, and we're going to have to refuse to go along to get along while he is the president. There are enough women of color, brown women, very dark women, very brown women, saved this country 8 years ago. 4 years ago. I'm sorry, 4 years ago. They went out in massive numbers and saved this country. They will do it again. And we have to make sure that they know they have that possibility. They've done it before, and they'll do it again. We've got to stop realizing how brilliant these women are. And if you think they aren't, you have to remember that 300,000 years ago, people who look like you left the continent of Africa and without any modern technology managed to populate every landmass on the face of the earth. Every landmass on the face of the earth was populated by people who we call black. And they weren't black, they were brown people whose skin was brown because they were exposed to a lot of sunlight. As they moved farther and farther from the equator, their skin, their hair, and their eyes got lighter. Their brains didn't get smaller, but their features got lighter as a result of the response to the natural environment. That's what color is all about. But we have decided that God must have looked like Donald Trump. Think of that. If that doesn't frighten you, I don't know what will. It's time for us to get into a state of realizing what reality is. And the reality is that if you get to your thesaurus and look up white, look up black, and look up brown, you'll find about 25 synonyms for white in the thesaurus and about 25 or 30 synonyms for black. You'll find 180 synonyms for brown in the thesaurus. That means that there are that many shades of brown that you can apply to skin color on people all over the face of the earth. We are all members of the same race. We are all members of the same color group. It's time to appreciate that. It's time to recognize that. And it's time to educate people to that fact.
But Jane, you have people who don't believe that. You have people who believe
I don't care. Of course, we have lots of people who don't believe that, but they're going to have to. They have no choice. They can think it's not true until hell freezes over. That won't make it a lie. That's the truth. Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set ye free. It's time for us to stop believing in different color groups and different races and realize it's only one race and there's only one color group, and it's shades of brown.
When we start looking at policy, beyond deportation, matter of fact, before I do that, I just saw Susie Wiles, who was Trump's campaign manager, he's going to name her chief of staff, and you got folks like Will Cain on Fox News. Let me find this here. He just tweeted, if y'all go to my iPad, worst misogynist just named the first woman chief of staff in U.S. history, CC Mark Cuban. Folks, Will Cain, listen, I debated Will a lot. I mean, he ain't the bright on CNN. He ain't the brightest bulb in a dark room. The best thing he's got going for him is a great head of hair. And so, I mean, I used to just destroy him constantly in debates. But, white guys like him actually believe by Trump picking a woman as chief of staff means he's not a misogynist.
Well, it means he's not only still a misogynist, he's a stupid one. Because Donald Trump doesn't think right, and he doesn't read right, and he doesn't know what he's talking about, but I think he thinks that's chief of stuff. She can handle stuff, but she isn't capable to handle that staff. She wants a chief of stuff, and that's what he's got. This man is he's a joke, and we've taken him seriously.
You also think,
spot where he belongs.
You also think, and here's the issue that I have, Jane, that mainstream, and I'm going to call it mainstream white media, they toyed with this. They thought he was amusing. He would say things, oh, that's just Donald being Donald. When I watched this year how Joe Scarborough and Mika were all highly critical of Trump railing every day, I remember 2015, New York Times did a story about Trump and his treatment of women, and Scarborough and Mark Halperin, they were there on the air. Like that's the best they got. I mean, people out there just going to say, oh, that's just Trump being Trump. And that's what they did. Everything that happened, oh, that's just Trump being Trump. They normalized his antics and his behavior. and it desensitized people. And it literally got to the point that every time he said something, oh, that's just Trump being Trump. We can just move on.
Do you really think that they aren't in any way bothered by the fact that he could buy and sell them tomorrow? Do you really think that they don't realize that he is saying to himself at every opportunity, I could, as my uncle said to my father many years ago, I could buy you and stick you in my vest pocket. Those people know what they have to do in order to stay employed, and they know what they have to do if they want to keep that job and keep their, whatever you want to call what they have. They're afraid to tell the truth. Their sponsors won't let them tell the truth. You know that, and I know that. And that's the reason I get lots and lots of death threats, because telling the truth is not a good idea in this environment.
Second round of questions. Greg, actually this time I'll start with Niambi.
Mm-hmm. So I think you said a lot here, and one of the things you talked about was how a lie is a lie whether we admit it or not. So how do we get back to a place where talking about the truth in very clear terms becomes a norm again? I mean, if it ever was, right? But how do we get back to the place calling things disinformation and other kinds of euphemisms, alternative fact, has been around for quite some time. But how do we get back to a place of just being honest and saying what in the world is going on and not having to do this both sidesism and all the other things?
You reject the language of ignorance. I'm an educator. That word comes from the root deuce, which means lead, the prefix e, which means out, the suffix ate, which means the act of, and the suffix or, which means one who does. An educator is one who leads people out of ignorance. It is not someone who stands there and lets people run their mouths in ways that are absolutely untrue and try to find an excuse for their behavior. You do what my dad said. Don't lie. If you're going to lie, don't lie to me. And he also said, you know the difference between right and wrong. Now do the right thing, goddammit. And that's what we were expected to do. And that's what we did. When someone starts to roll out some of that nonsense that you know is nonsense, you not only have the right, you have the responsibility to say, wait a minute, stop right there. I have here a book that says that just what you just said was a total lie. Do not tell that in my presence. Now, you lose a lot of friends that way, and if you're somebody like me, you lose a lot of family members. But at least you know the truth and you aren't afraid to tell it. My father said, tell the truth, by God. Sometimes it'll hurt you, but you better tell the truth. I believe in telling the truth. It isn't pretty, but we better stick to the truth instead of being...
You folks to do something. I want every white person, every person in this room who considers himself or herself a member of the white race to stand. Right now. Right now. Every person in this room who considers himself or herself a member of the white race. Now, remain standing. Now, remain standing. Now, will every person in this room who considers himself or herself a member of the black race please stand? Up, 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 up. And remain standing. Now, the brown race. Anybody who considers himself or herself a member of the brown race. Now, the yellow race. Now, the red race. Now, will look around you, people. Practically everybody is standing. Now, will every person in this room who considers himself or herself a member of the human race please sit down? Now, people, you are all members of the same race, the human race, which started with black women between 300,000. Don't interrupt me. I don't have much time. Now, white folks, you don't like it, but all you are is faded blacks. That's the way it is. Every one of you, if you trace your DNA back far enough, you're going to find that some of your DNA came from Africa. Because we all have the same ancestor back there, every single one of us. And those of you who think you don't have are obviously from outer space. Now, that means that every one of us is a 30th to 50th cousin to every other person in this room. So I want you to turn to the person on your left or your right or behind or in front of you, stick out your hand and say, hi, cousin. Now, will every person in this room who considers himself or herself a biracial person stand? Don't you stand. Don't you stand. People, we have to get rid of the language of racism.
Words are important, people. Words matter. You have to be careful how you use them, and you have to refuse to tolerate these ugly words being used in your presence. Now, make no mistake about this. I've been described as a teacher. I'm not a teacher. Teachers dispense facts and figures so that they can get their kids ready for the end of school testing. I've been called a trainer. You train dogs and horses and members of the military. I don't train people. I'm an educator. The word educator, I don't want to be interrupted anymore. People, the word educator comes from the root duc dus, which means lead, the prefix e, which means out, the suffix ate, which means the act of, and the suffix or, which means one who does. An educator is one who is engaged in the act of leading people out of ignorance. Now, in this country, we spend a lot of money on what we call education. It isn't education, it's indoctrination. It takes us 13 years to teach a student, to educate a student, to be ignorant about race, and to support ideas that make this a better country. This is a word for this in my vernacular, since I was raised on a farm, is bullshit. Don't write that down. People, I recognize it when I see it, and that's what we're living with right now. If we were in post-racial society, Donosaurus T. Rump would not be in the White House. He got elected because white people resented having a black man in the White House for 8 years. It's time to face the truth and say the truth, and it's time for women, and all people of color to stop playing defense and defending what they are and go on the offense. We were here first. We don't have to apologize for what we are or for what we do. Now, I know some of you are thinking, boy, is she a bitch? Yes, I am. Now, how many of you women have been called the B word? Look around, fellas. Everybody's heard it. Come up with a new word. Now, how many of you are called that by a male? All right, people, for me, the B word is an acronym for being in total control, honey. And when women are seen in control, the men around them call them the B word. You need to say, "You're right, darling, I am." And then you need to whip out your little Lorena Bobbitt fruit knife. Now, don't do that, because some of these boys are scared to death. Now some of you are thinking, she doesn't like men. Oh, God, do I like men. Oh, Find me one, please, please. Some of my best friends are men. I was married to one for 59 years. When I married him, he looked just like Marlon Brando. He really did. When he died, he looked like Telly Savalas. Lived with me for 59 years. And what's your next question?
You guys can literally see that when this lady literally asks questions like, if you will love to endure what black people have endured, if you will love to go through what black people have gone through, kindly step out. Nobody want to come out. Nobody want to come out because a lot of them knew that what black Americans are literally going through, they cannot go through it. The only thing that they love to say is just to keep blabbing their mouths. And honestly, see, if there is nobody that should be given regard in the whole of America, honestly, black Americans should be given regard. Because starting from their invention and every single thing, it has just been massive and it has literally been on point. And this is another white woman trying to educate these folks. All the people that sang, "I will vote Donald Trump, East, West, North, and South." Honestly, even as at this age, this woman knows what is right, and she is literally saying it as sweet as it is. Go to every single documentary and everything that this woman has literally done. You are not going to see people coming to condemn her. Do you get? Anyways, let's continue. I'll be back with commentaries. Let's continue watching, guys.
Angela, you want to talk about privilege?
First, and this goes to you, Jane, first. How did you first become aware? This is a reflective question. How did you first become aware of your own privilege? And how did you first become aware that others had more privilege than you? And I'm going to ask the same of you also.
Oh, you want me to go
yes,
first?
so you go first.
I never thought of it as white privilege. I just thought if you do the right thing, people will do the right thing where you're concerned. And because I'm white, they did. And they were wrong. Because I've been doing the wrong thing for about 33 years, I did the wrong thing. I thought I was all right. And then I did the blue-eyed, brown-eyed exercise. And I watched a brilliant little blue-eyed white girl turn into a frightened, intimidated, unable to learn child in the space of 15 minutes because I accused her of not being smart enough because she had the wrong color eyes. And I watched 4 dyslexic brown-eyed boys read words they had never been able to read and spell words they had never been able to spell because nobody had ever told them that they could learn to read or spell. But on the day they had brown eyes, it was obvious that the world was theirs. They could do anything. I found out about expectations that day, and I realized that what we have done, what we white folks have done in this country, ever since we got here, is treat people positively or negatively, not on the basis of the color of their skin, but on the basis of our ignorance about skin color, where it comes from and what it causes. This is not about skin color, this is about ignorance. And the answer to ignorance is education. It is not indoctrination, it is not schooling, it is not training, it is education. But you have to have teachers who know better if they're going to teach better. And teachers can only teach what they know. And unfortunately for all of us, we've all been led down the same ugly path of thinking that it's all right to claim privilege when what we should be claiming is ignorance. We've got the wrong word here, people. This problem is white ignorance. And white people are running the show. Now you're going to think she's a traitor to her race. I'm not a traitor to the human race, and that's the only race I see. Make no mistake about that. And as long as we keep on acting as though there are several races, we can have panels like this at which we discuss white privilege instead of discussing white ignorance and deciding to do something about it. We need to start really furnishing education in these schools instead of furnishing indoctrination. Did that answer your question?
Yes, partially.
All right.
The rest of the question is, so how did you become aware of your own privilege or of others having more privilege than you? You're talking about...
I watched my students.
It was watching the students.
And I realized, watching them, that they were exhibiting the behaviors that they were copying from me. They acted hey, my little brown-eyed students, the day they were on the top in that exercise, became me. And it made me sick to my stomach, and it does to this day. I hate to remember that day, because I watched my brown-eyed children we just loved one another in my classroom. We really did. And on that day, I found out that I don't want to be tolerated. Because in that classroom, my kids tolerated me because I'm blue-eyed. The first thing that was said after I told the kids that blue-eyed people aren't as smart as brown-eyed people, a little brown-eyed child in the front row, Debbie Hughes, looked up at me and said, "How come you're the teacher here if you got them blue eyes?" I got a real experience that day, and a real educational experience, people. I found out how I look to people of color. And I have spent the last 50 years trying not to look like that and trying to encourage others to stop it. Tell you another thing. Do I have a few more minutes here? My father, at the age of 60, watched the film that the CBC made in my classroom the second year I did the exercise. They sent me a copy of it, and I showed it to my father and my mother. My father was 60 years old, the most honest man, the most moral man I've ever known. I showed him that film. When it was over, he stood up, and in his bib overalls and his blue chambray shirt rolled up to the elbows, he reached in his back pocket, took out his red handkerchief, and with tears in his eyes, he blew his nose and said, "I wish somebody had taught me that when I was 9 years old." You can criticize what I do until the cows come home. And psychologists do until they get smart. I don't listen anymore because my father said, "I wish somebody had taught me that when I was 9 years old." If somebody had taught my father that when he was 9 years old, we would never have had to listen to some of the ridiculous racist remarks that he made. And he never made them again after he watched that film. Don't tell me that you can't change people. Don't tell me that you're too old to change. There isn't a person in this room who is too old to change. White folks, you got to change. Because within 30 years, you will be a numerical minority in the United States of America. And you had better pray to whoever you pray to or for, that people of color are not going to get even with us and treat us the way we have treated them. If you can't think of any other reason for treating people like equal human beings, think of that one. Because what you do today is creating the future. I don't think you want the kind of future that you have provided for people in the present. I may be mistaken. You may not know what's going on. You know what's going on. And if I asked you, if every white person in this room who wants to be treated the way we have treated people of color in this country, if you'd like to be treated that way, all you white folks, if you want that for the rest of your life, please stand. Did you understand the directions? If you're white, and you think blacks have got it so good in this country, and you want to be treated the way they have been for the rest of your life, just stand up. You know why you aren't standing. You know it's ugly, and you know it's happening, and you know you don't want it to happen to you. So I want to know why you're so willing to allow it for others in this post-racial society. Another question?
Okay, so we're talking about privilege and how you first became aware that others had more privilege than you, and how you might have been aware that you had more privilege than others.
Today I asked a young woman how long she thinks this has been going on, this racism against blacks. How long do you think it's been going on? Forever? You're wrong. 500 years. During the Spanish Inquisition, the people who were running the Spanish Inquisition and killing people because of their religion found out that they killed a whole lot of people who had the right religion. They couldn't tell what their religion is by looking at them. So they decided they had to find another way to identify the people that they were going to kill and enslave, So they set upon skin color. People, it's only 500 years old. Now think of that. It's only 500 years old. Nobody was born a racist. There is no gene for bigotry. You were not born a racist. You have to be taught to be a racist, and you have to be carefully taught. And if you haven't seen that musical, in which the last song is, you have to be taught to be afraid of people whose skin is a different shade, of people whose eyes are differently made. You have to be carefully taught.
South Pacific.
Yes, South Pacific. You have to be taught before it's too late, before you are 6 or 7 or 8, to hate all the people your relatives hate. You have to be carefully taught. And that's what we have to do in this country to keep this racism alive. If we want racism to stop, we have to stop teaching racism. In our homes, in our churches, people, Jesus did not look like the little Pillsbury Doughboy. And God is not an old white man with a long gray beard that looks like Charlton Heston playing Moses. And Mary did not have pale skin, blonde hair, and blue eyes. Get over it. And do it now. You can make a difference if you choose to, you young people. How many of you have parents, mothers, who are really tired of sending Christmas cards? I'll tell you how to solve that problem. Go down to the store, buy a box of Christmas cards with the Holy Family picture on it. Take it home, color them right. When your mother sends those out this year, she'll never get another Christmas card from most of those people. People, we have to absolutely refuse to tolerate the intolerable. Elie Wiesel said, you must not tolerate the intolerable. And if it's intolerable for you, my cousins, then by the gods of war, it's intolerable for me, and I will not tolerate it. This has gone on long enough. This has gone on long enough. And we have gone along to get along long enough. We need to put a stop to it. And you can. Educators can. Educators can change this. If I can, you can. Get busy.
This is a question that fits right with what you're saying. How can we talk about race and privilege with openness and inclusiveness in a way that prevents people from shutting down?
People can shut down or not, that's up to them.
Okay.
Let me tell you something. I am not responsible for how you respond to me. You got it? I flat out don't care. If you learn something in here this evening from this woman who has forgotten more than I'll ever know about racism, and what little I know, if you decide to learn something in here tonight, you'll learn something. If you decide to be mad, you'll be mad. Go ahead. I don't care. That's your problem, not mine. I am not responsible for how you feel. I am responsible for what I say. I'm responsible for what I do. You're responsible for your response to it. Be responsible for your responses. I'm not responsible for it.
Okay, I want to hear what Angela has to say to this.
Well, I totally agree with Jane.
Okay.
How can I not?
Accept that.
As someone who has spent many years teaching university students, teaching graduate students, I've learned that it makes no sense for me to simply tell my students what it is I think they ought to know. You know, they might learn enough to write a good paper, and then they'll move on, moving in another direction. So I've come to the conclusion that teaching really is about helping people to ask the right questions, to ask the right questions, and to be able to come to the conclusion themselves that there is something really terribly wrong with the way racism has shaped the history of this planet. So I think education is about unleashing the imagination. What teachers, unfortunately, most often do is shut down the imagination and to prevent people from exploring the world in their own ways. And so I think that certainly there are many questions to be asked about race and racism, about the fact that race is a fictive concept. As Jane was pointing out, we're all members of the same human race. Race is a social construction. Race was produced by racism. But of course, this does not mean that it doesn't cause damage in the world, that it hasn't been the producer, the generator of the worst kind of violence one can imagine. But I think that that what we try to do is to get people to come to that conclusion on their own, and not on their own as individuals. See, one of the reasons we have so many problems in this country and in this world, particularly during this neoliberal era, is because we have been encouraged to think of ourselves as individuals primarily and not members of a larger community. You know, so when we think about getting rid of racism, we think about changing individuals. It's not going to happen simply by changing individuals. The structures produce racism even when the individuals assume that they are anti-racist. You know, how is it that we ended up with a prison system with such a vast majority of people of color? You know, how is it that there are over 2 million people in the jails and prisons and immigrant detention facilities and jails in Indian country and military prison. How did that happen? If we don't, ask the kinds of questions that will allow us to understand how racism shapes all of the important institutional structures in this society.
What's the call for action you would issue to this group?
So who's first?
Who's first? Oh, I'm first?
Here.
Yeah. Turn off your television. Pick up a book. Go out of your way to meet somebody you would never have wanted to meet before. Look at that person as a cousin and say, I want to know what I can do to make my life less ugly where you're concerned. And never, white people, walk up to the nearest black person and say, what's it like to be black? And never, when I come to speak to your school, or your college or your university, never say to me, I think we should ignore differences and talk about similarities. Similarities are more important than differences. And never let me hear you say, when I see people, I don't see people as black or brown or red or yellow. I just... And how about this one from a teacher? I don't care whether you're black, brown, red, yellow, or green with purple polka dots, I'm going to treat you all alike. How many of you have heard that one out of a teacher? How many of you have ever seen people who are green with purple polka dots? Well, you see, when a teacher lumps all those people in with those who are green with purple polka dots, she's saying you're all like aliens from another planet. She never says white in there. She never says white, because it's all right to see white. How many of you have had a person stand up when you were speaking and say, I just look for the person's heart? People, the next time somebody says that to you, you need to say, if you can see my heart from where you are, you should go down to the local hospital and volunteer to be their X-ray machine. You see, this whole thing is ridiculous. To treat people positively or negatively on the basis of your ignorance about skin color is ridiculous. Now here's something else you can do. Go to my website. A teacher, a real educator, quite frankly, gave me a list of commitments to combat racism. Go to my website, janeelliott.com, take that list, download it, go through it, check yes, those that you have done, check no, those that you haven't done, circle one that you check no, and do it for a month. At the end of the month, take out the paper and make notes on it as to how your life has changed as a result of doing that one thing. There are 18 things on that paper. Then, read the list of typical statements that white folks make that think they aren't racist. Check those that you would be inclined to say that you have heard. Then, read the clarifications of those statements. How they are being heard by the person to whom you're saying them. If you do that, that will change your white awareness. And our problem is white lack of awareness. Make no mistake about this. People of color know about racism. They recognize it when they hear it. And when you say to a person of color, I don't see you black, you ought to have your tongue cut out first. I can't examine your head, but people, if what you're saying is being perceived as racist, say something else. Perception is everything. If what you are saying is being perceived as racist, change your language. You can do that. If you choose to, you better choose to. But you better choose to. There are 18 things on that list of commitments to combat racism. I challenge you to do 3 of them.
Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I hope you guys literally enjoyed every single clip I was able to roll out for you guys. If you haven't subscribed as at this point, what are you waiting for? Please do subscribe, like this video, drop me your comments, and lastly, do not forget to share. And I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you liking, commenting, sharing, joining my membership, guys. I really do appreciate. I received a lot of membership. I received a lot of thanks, super thanks. See, I'm so grateful. I don't know how else to tell you guys that I'm grateful to every single one of you. God bless you. And I love you guys from the depth of my heart. Please, if you are watched to this point, share this video and let me know your thoughts in the comment section. From what she has said from beginning to the end, is that not what is literally happening? Is the Orange Man administration not giving us hell? Is the Orange Man administration not focusing in doing any other thing instead of doing the most important thing? Is the Orange Man administration making you happy? I want to know in the comment section. I want to know in the comment section, because honestly, this man has done, see, out of 100%, his regime has really give us 99.9% bad news, honestly. And that is why when I actually saw this clip that he was saying, oh, he was trying to run for 2028, I was like, hello, sir, we are not even done, because every single thing that is affecting America, I keep saying it do affect us too as well. I'm telling you, the cost of price and everything that is rising, it is affecting us. It is affecting us as African, as Nigerians to be specific. And that is why every single thing that this man is doing literally is pissing a lot of people off. Because instead of him to listen, he can... Guys, credit to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. And yes, with that being said, with no further ado, I do like I always say in my videos, I'm going to be saying bye, and I'll see you guys in my next one. For now, bye guys. I love you guys. Bye.